Oftentimes, I'll get way too consumed by my own personal pursuits on this self-actualization journey. And what it does is it erects this barrier between myself and others and doesn't allow me to effectively palpate, to appreciate the humanity within them. And what I want to share with you is a mechanism, a tactic, a strategy that I've employed to help offset this. And frankly, to take the gigantic, enormous stick out of my butt and to bring me back down to ground zero, down to earth, and be a more grounded person, able to see the humanity in others, to be more relatable to other people, and to really appreciate people where they're at. Because one of the problems with self-actualization, with, you're improving your diet, you're improving your sleep, you started meditating, maybe you started cold approaching people, you're working on your confidence, maybe you're doing a little bit of public speaking. Essentially what you're doing is you are perpetually expanding your comfort zone. That's something that I'm extremely passionate about, and I really want to exemplify how to do that and inspire you to potentially follow suit in a fashion that is analogous and appropriate for your current situation and future trajectory. Now, the problem with this pursuit is that it's easier to place ourselves on a pedestal and to deem ourselves holier than thou. And what I mean by that is that not everybody is on personal development. Most people are not on personal development. Most people don't have discernible discernment with that which they put into their body. And when you start having more discernment, when you start saying no to the processed, hyperpalatable processed foods, to the seed oil riddled processed junk food, then what's going to happen is you're going to start noticing the fatal flaws in other people. And this is something that is really disturbing because you start to see people differently. Now, I can certainly speak for myself when I say that it really, throughout my journey, has recontextualized just the way that I view my parents. Now, my parents are lovely people who, just like anybody else, is doing the best that they can with the resources that they have. And look, I'm not just saying that as a platitude. I feel like that too often gets, that rhetoric gets espoused just as a platitude. But no, I genuinely believe that they did and are currently doing and will continue to do their best. And I love them immensely for that. And it's not them that has changed, it's me, and for good reason. I mean, I just had a lot of leverage. I was rejected by a girl that I was just head over heels in love with, and I was in a position where I had lost everything ostensibly, and that opened me up to grab anything. Literally, I've had just a number of ego deaths, which I recognize is not common for the average individual. Now, those ego deaths have given rise to the ability for me to completely reinvent myself and have no attachments to previous ways of being. But then what that's done has recontextualized the perspective that I have of my parents, who, as I said, are doing their best, and I love them immensely for that. But then what happens is it erects this divide, this barrier between myself and them, and it doesn't allow me to actually see the humanity within them, right? When I'm judging them because they're eating soybean oil or canola oil, or they're eating out at a restaurant and they don't tell the waiter or the waitress that, for example, they have an allergy to seed oils, which is what I recommended. Now, the truth is that that is actually hurting me, right? Because I'm not able to connect with them in ways that I would otherwise be able to if I just lower my guard and just, again, see the humanity within them, recognize that they are doing their best, and recognize that actually this whole video was born out of one really profound realization that not only offered me immense liberty, but also freedom from judgment and concern. It's allowed me to be much more empathetic of and compassionate for my fellow human beings. And the fundamental realization that I arrived at is that if I were somebody else, I would behave identically. Now, it's easier to proceed in life and deem ourselves holier than thou and say, you should, which by the way is the most dangerous word in the English language. You should do this, or you should do that, or naughty, naughty, naughty. Given your circumstances, I would behave differently. But what you have to realize is that if you actually had their circumstances, there no longer would be a you. See, you're saying that from your own perspective, if I were someone else. Right. So you've already referenced yourself in that dialogue, right? In that rhetoric. But the truth is that if you were someone else, there actually would be no notion of you. And so your perspective would actually not only be analogous, it would be identical to that individual. And given their neurochemistry, given their sequence of events leading up to that point in time, given their conceivable childhood traumas that ostensibly are giving rise to their current behavior, so you would do no better, as it were, right? And what you think is better is still from your current perspective of I. So what I've had to realize is that just like how my parents are doing their best, everybody else is doing their best. And the standards that I've set are really only appropriate to be applied to myself. And that it actually never makes sense to compare yourself to who somebody else is today, but rather to who you were yesterday, as Jordan Peterson would say. And it's that realization that has given me a lot of freedom. And I hope you can really take this on and realize that, yes, you can pursue betterment. You can, get better at life and not bitter about life. You can improve yourself in all of these different ways, all of these different nooks and crannies of life. And I think you should do that. And personal development is phenomenal. But just don't expect anybody else to follow. It is true what they say that you become the average of the 5 people you hang around the most. But I think it's also worth seeing other people where they're at, like really just appreciating the humanity within them. And a tactic that I've been able to employ over the past few years that has at least helped me be able to do that, and I hope it's helpful for you, is to take some time, set aside some time to just journal about people in your life who maybe on the surface, like you have some knee-jerk reactions to, and like, I don't know, maybe you have some petty judgments. You have different things about them that you aren't particularly fond of, like maybe different coworkers that, if left to your own devices, if it was your decision, you wouldn't spend that much time with. What I would recommend doing is pulling out a pad of paper and a pen and writing down redeeming qualities that they possess that you not only admire, but would fancy emulating, like actually integrating into the character that you're cultivating. So this is something that I would do on my birthday each year. I would go to the Senator Inn and Spa, and I would get like this nice 1-hour massage. God, I love physical touch. It's so good. It's so good and rejuvenating. And then what I would do is they had a mineral pool there, and I would take out a pad of paper and a pen, and I would write down the names of all of my coworkers, and I would expound upon qualities that I really admired about them. And what this is going to do is really select the focus with which you have for these people, and it's going to allow you to see the best in them. Now, I'm not saying that we delusionally see the best in everybody and we totally disregard people's inherent downfalls. No, you still want to have an objective sense of reality, but it's just the fact that I think our default, for whatever reason, is just to see the glass as half empty. So what this exercise effectively accentuates is the fact that it can also be seen as half full. And if you start to see the best in people, what you're going to be able to do is then integrate those aspects into them. And it's going to really fine-tune the lens with which you view people through and your subsequent interactions. And if you really do this exercise, like you actually take this seriously, wow, maybe you could actually learn something from them. I can remember being a pharmacy intern at a good-sized hospital in Central Maine. And I just remember being so open-minded and so passionate and bright-eyed and bushy-tailed. So up until this point in time, 2014, I believe it was, or 15, I was extremely shy, stifled, introverted. The prospect of talking to a stranger or frankly, cold approaching a girl that I deemed attractive was just outside of my purview, outside of my paradigm, of my reality. And so I was just on cloud 9 during the summer, and I actually ended up cold approaching a woman who I ended up spending 3 years of my life with. We had a really beautiful life together and a beautiful relationship. And that's something that, is frankly priceless in my view. I got really good insight into what parenthood would entail. She is a mother, and I'm really, really grateful for that. But this summer was special because, I would interact with people from a lot of different disciplines. Hospitals are inherently hierarchical. You've got like the chief pharmacy operator, the CPO, you've got different technicians, pharmacists, for example, which I was aspiring to be at the time. You have nurses, CNAs, med techs, you've got doctors, you've got custodial folks, environmental services, I believe they refer to them as. And what I realized is that everybody had a piece of the puzzle that I was looking to assemble. I just wanted to understand everyone, man, like see them where they're at, see the humanity within them, man, because what else have we got, guys, but the humanity within us? And we get so caught up in our own bullshit. Like we're swimming in it, man. We're swimming in a sea of shit. You gotta get past that. You gotta get past that. And on the other side, you're able to actually see the humanity within people and connect with people in a way that wasn't previously possible because you had a guard up. Because you were too petty, too judgmental, and you were too full of shit to see the beauty within people. I love you very much. Thanks for checking out today's video. I hope this one resonated with you. Drop a comment down below, my friend. Like and subscribe for more content like this. And until next time, my friend, find your freedom.